अ, अच्छा, एक मिनिट. हो. बापरे. हा, माझं स्क्रीन टोटली ब्लँक दिसतोय आता. हँग झालं ना. पुन्हा करू का? अच्छा, ठीक आहे. हो. हेलो। हो, ठीक है, ठीक है। हाँ। Good evening, everyone. This is Professor David Sagalgile, and I'll be taking you through the environmental issues as well as the different kinds of pollutions. So we have got the environmental issues, as we have studied in the previous lectures, are not only of a local nature, they are of a regional nature as well as of a global nature. That means the environmental issues are very huge in characteristics, or they are very huge in their respect. So here we see that the environmental issues, like we see the climate change, the global warming, deforestation, and the pollution, they are not only affecting a particular area or the local area where the pollution is created, but they are affecting the entire planet. The entire world is being affected because of pollution and because of environmental issues. So here we are going to study about the local environmental issues. The local environmental issues are basically caused because of the garbage people throw here and there, the plastic waste that they create, then the industrial waste that is left out in the rivers or in the lakes or in the water bodies, which causes a great concern. People get affected because of the polluted water. And also deforestation. Once the forests are cut down, once the land becomes barren, we see that it naturally affects rainfall because precipitation does not happen, and that particular area gets lower rainfall than usual. So these are the local effects. Then we come to the regional, on a little larger scale. How does environmental issues affect? We see deforestation, air pollution, and also radiation of nuclear substances. They or radioactive substances. They are affecting on a regional level. We see that the entire Southeast Asia climatic changes have happened, environmental changes are happening, global warming are happening. That is basically because it's called as the regional effect, or it is a regional environmental issue. And this is largely because of the air pollution, the industries that have come up in this particular area, and also because of the deforestation that has happened, or cutting down of forests that has happened in these particular areas. Then we come on to a global environmental issues. Now we see what are the factors which are affecting the global environment. We see the deforestation, global warming, depletion of the ozone layer, and also radiation is also affecting on a global scale. Like take for, as I'd given you an example yesterday, that the Amazon rainforest are the oxygen factory of the world. and because the people living in the Amazon regions, they are burning the forest to cultivate and creating cultivable land to plant their agriculture produce. We see that because of the smoke and because of the pollution caused because of the burning, and because such a huge forest cover is lost, it is causing problems not only for the ecological system but also oxygen generation is reduced. So it is a global phenomenon. Just one area, deforestation is happening and it is affecting the entire world. Then we see about global warming also. Because of global warming also, the entire world is getting affected on a very huge scale. Climate changes are happening. We see that most of the islands are getting lost. It is not because the pollution is created on these islands, but because of the pollution that has been created worldwide, because of the global warming, because of the climate change. We see that the glaciers are melting, the earth is getting hotter and hotter day by day, and that is the main reason so many different islands and coastal regions all around the world are getting disappeared, or they are getting underwater. Then we have seen the depletion of the ozone layer, how the ozone layer is getting depleted, and how a hole is created in the ozone layer, which is affecting the entire world. So we see that the environmental issues are not only local, they are not only regional, but they affect the entire world as such. And that is why it is very, very important for the entire world political leaders to get together and fight against global warming, against climate change, against pollution, and to save the environment so that the further generations, the future generations, will not be affected. So these are the different kinds of environmental issues. We will also study about what is pollution. It is very obvious for us to know the real or the correct meaning of pollution. Pollution is the introduction of substances or energy that causes adverse changes in the environment and living entities. So, any substances that, or any introduction of new substances into the environment, which is causing some kind of changes or adverse effect or bad effect on the living creatures, that is called as pollution. Pollution need not always be caused by chemical substances such as particulates like smoke and dust. Uh, Forms of energy such as sound, heat, or light can also cause pollution. So we see that extra heat or light or even sound can cause pollution. These substances that cause pollution are called pollutants. The presence, or the another definition is the presence of extremely high concentrations of harmful substances in the environment is known as pollution. So toxic elements, poisonous elements, or which are let out into the atmosphere, which has got a direct connection to the ecology, to the human beings, or to the living plants and animals, we see that is described as pollution. Pollution need not always be caused by chemical substances, isn't it? It is not only always caused by chemical substances. We see that there are many more aspects to pollution. Then what are the different types of pollutions that we are going to see? There are different kinds of pollution which are either caused by natural events like forest fire, or by man-made activities like cars, factories, nuclear waste, etc. Now, there are different kinds of pollution, like we see air pollution is there, water pollution, soil pollution, as well as noise pollution. So, these kinds of pollution basically happen because of the natural events. Sometimes they are the natural events, like forest fire. Now, take for example, in most of the countries, in most of the places, you will see that forest during the summer season, especially, they catch fire, and we see that it's a natural process. and the entire forest will start burning, and there is little that people can do to control these wildfires. These fires, when they start, they destroy the entire forest, they destroy the entire plants and animals over there, the entire ecological system, and they cause huge amount of pollution in that particular region. And because smoke, such a huge smoke, carbon dioxide is generated, poisonous gases are generated, smoke is generated, which are basically the pollutants. And these wildfires on a very large scale, tons and tons of gas is emitted when the forest catches fire. Then we see that when the forest is lit either by human beings or by natural events, we see that there is a lot of pollution that is caused. People can see the pollution, people can feel the pollution from a very long distance. Yesterday, I had given you an example as to how or why Delhi is the most popular, is the most polluted city in India. It is not because the pollution, 100% of the pollution that is faced in Delhi is caused in Delhi, but the surrounding regions like Haryana and Punjab, the farmers usually after the harvesting is over, they burn the land, they burn the grass and all those things, which causes a lot of smoke, which causes a lot of poisonous gases to be emitted, and we see that because of that, Delhi becomes the most polluted area or the most polluted city in India. So forest fire, you can imagine such huge gases. They are basically released when combustion takes place, when the fuel is burned, like petrol and diesel is burned, or when coal is burnt, or these are basically the gases which are released from the industries, and these are poisonous gases, and these have a direct impact on the health of people or on the surrounding regions, what we call as the environment. What are the different causes of air pollution? Burning of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are what? Petroleum and coal. Petroleum and coal is basically the sources of fossil fuel. These are the hydrocarbons. When they are burned, they also generate a lot of pollution. Then burning of wood and cow dung cakes at home. People, even in the villages, even today, we see that people are burning wood uh, to light to make food. They also use cow dung cakes at home for burning the for cooking purposes. So this also generates a lot of smoke. This also generates a lot of carbon dioxide and these poisonous gases. And also we see that factories, vehicles, and power plants are also generating a lot of pollution. Then mining operations. Mining operations also generate a lot of gases. They also they also create a lot of pollution because of which the air gets polluted. Then exhaust gases from industries and factories. Then the various gases which are emitted from the industries and factories, they are also very, very harmful in nature for human beings and for the entire environment. I've seen certain areas where these chemical factories are there. When that chemical gases were released, even the small plants which were kept in the homes of people, they also used to die. So you can imagine what impact this can create upon the lives of people and animals. Then the effects of air pollution: increased risk of respiratory illness and cardiovascular problems. So the more we see that the air is polluted, that means we cannot breathe fresh air. And because we cannot breathe fresh air, and because we are inhaling poisonous gases, we this particular thing leads to respiratory illness like asthma, allergies, sneezing, cold and cough, and also cardiovascular problems. It relates to, it also causes heart diseases and heart problems. Pure air is something which is very important for us to breathe. But if that air itself is polluted, it results to many different kinds of sicknesses. Then increased risk of skin diseases. Many skin diseases erupt because of the polluted air, because the poisonous gases are there in the air. It may increase the risk of cancer also. Air pollution can cause lung cancer, or it can affect the respiratory system and cause cancers of the respiratory system. Then air pollution also causes global warming. One of the most important reason why global warming is taking place, it is basically because of the air pollution, because of the greenhouse gases that are released into the atmosphere. It also leads to acid rain. We see that when these different kinds of gases are present in the atmosphere, when it rains, these gases, they mix with the water of the rain, and the rain falls on the earth, which is called as the acid rain. So, and then the next one is ozone depletion. Air pollution also causes depletion of the ozone layer, which and as we have studied yesterday, that the ozone layer is like a blanket which covers the atmosphere, and which does not allow the harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun to come to the earth. The harmful ultraviolet rays, they cause so many diseases. They are harmful, and they are also causing a lot of different kinds of cancers. Then hazards to wildlife. Even wildlife is affected because of air pollution. Then we move on to then the next thing is, the next kind of pollution is the water pollution. Now, what is water pollution? Contamination of water bodies such as lakes, rivers, oceans, underground water, and seas by harmful substances is called as water pollution. So when the water bodies, like the lakes, oceans, rivers, or even the underground water and the seas, when harmful substances get mixed into it, when the industrial waste is let out into it, we see that the water gets polluted. And which has also got a very huge bearing on the entire environment. Then a leading cause of water pollution is sewage, industrial waste, pesticides, and fertilizers from farming. So this is also very important. What is the main cause, or what are the sources of water pollution? Is the sewage, that is the gutter water that is let out directly into the lakes and into the rivers, and in the coastal areas into the sea. Then the industrial waste. Industrial waste is basically toxic waste. It has got more of poisonous elements and substances, which are let out into the seas or let out into the rivers. Then pesticides and fertilizers from farming. Then also pesticides which are used to destroy the pest on the which are used to spray on the plants and over the crops, and even fertilizers which are again chemicals. They are also causing lot of water pollution. Polluted water becomes unfit for drinking, bathing, washing, and irrigation. Now, once the water gets polluted, it is good for nothing. It is not good for drinking, because if we consume that water, a lot of sicknesses and diseases will pass on. It is not good for bathing because it will cause skin allergies, nor is it good for washing clothes, nor is it good for agriculture. Garbage dumping can also leak out pollutants into underground water. Then garbage dumping, we see that in most of the cities, huge amount of garbage, tons and tons of garbage is generated every day. And this garbage many a times is dumped into a certain place. When it rains on this particular garbage, all the poisonous elements of it, they get mixed into the water, and then the water seeps down into the ground. which causes pollution in the underground water. And that is why we see that even the water of the wells and bore wells is not fit for becomes polluted and is not good for drinking or for any other purpose. Then major water pollutants are lead, mercury, fertilizers, and pesticide compounds. So these are the major elements or chemicals which are causing water pollution. Sewage and industrial waste Sewage and industrial waste from tanning factories. So here we see that sewage, that is gutter water, and industrial waste that is left out, and also from tanning factories. These are also causing a huge amount of water pollution. I'm sorry, soil pollution. Then we see just a moment. Other significant causes of water pollution are dumping solid waste in water bodies, disposing untreated industrial sewage into the water bodies, human and animal waste, agricultural runoff containing pesticides and fertilizers. Toxic chemicals can bioaccumulate in living beings, and these chemicals can travel their way up the food chain, ultimately reaching humans. So here we have seen that how the different kinds of water pollution happens. The different kinds of water pollutants also we see that decomposition of untreated industrial sewage and water bodies. Then we also impact the water bodies, human and animal waste, then agricultural pesticides and fertilizers which are let out into the water bodies. Then we see that these uh, these uh, uh, these particular pollutants or these particular toxic elements, they go into the water, they harm the water, and then we see that how the fish get affected, and how directly when people eat fish, they are also affected because they are eating something which is contaminated. So the entire food chain, the chemicals are introduced in the food chain. Then we see the effects of air pollution. Disruption of the ecosystem, threat to marine life. I'm sorry, this is effects of water pollution. We see that it is disruption to the ecosystem, threats to marine life, increased risk of waterborne diseases. We see that the entire marine life is threatened because of the toxins that are let into the water, increased risk of waterborne diseases. A lot of waterborne diseases also takes place, like cholera and typhoid and all these things. Increases toxic chemicals such as mercury in water bodies. In 1932, a grave case of water pollution incapacitated the inhabitants of an entire city in Japan with neurological diseases and mental illness. Methyl mercury was dumped into the surrounding bay and had ultimately bioaccumulated inside the fish. Local population then consumed this fish. So here we see in 1932 something very terrible happened in a place in a city of Japan, where people were suffering from neurological diseases and mental illness. And the main reason was because methyl mercury was dumped into the water bodies, and these water bodies and these methyl mercury, this particular toxic element, got deposited in the fish. And when people ate the fish, they became sick. They were mentally retarded, they had neurological and mental illness. So here we see how the chemicals, they travel up in the food chain, and ultimately it is the human beings that are getting affected by these. Then we move on to the next one, that is soil pollution. Contamination of soil due to harmful substances. Polluted soil becomes unfit for growing crops and plants. So when the soil is contaminated by chemicals or by different elements, we see that it is good for nothing. You cannot grow crops and plants over there. Then what are the different causes of soil pollution? Soil pollutions the causes of soil pollution are over irrigation, lot of cultivation of agriculture, lot of using of fertilizers and pesticides, uses of pesticides, dumping of sewage and garbage, deforestation, and mining. So these are the causes for soil pollution. Improper industrial waste disposal. Most of the time, the industrial waste is just thrown out on the ground, and that is how the good agricultural land gets bad, or it is uh, unfit for agriculture, because it is because these toxic elements have gone into the ground. Then we see oil spills. Sometimes oil spills in on the soil, and because of which also some kind of pollution happens. Then acid rains, which is caused by air pollution. We see that air pollution, so many poisonous gases are there in the atmosphere. When the rain falls, these gases, they get mixed with the rain, and which results in the falling of acid on the ground. Then mining activities, then intensive farming and agrochemicals like fertilizers and pesticides. So these are the ones which also cause a lot of soil pollution. Then industrial accidents also cause a huge amount of soil pollution. Pollutants disturb the soil profile, spoil the soil fertility, and make it unfit for growing crops. So once the soil profile is lost, or it is disturbed, the soil fertility is lost because of pollution, and then the farmers cannot grow any crop in this particular piece of land. Pollutants from the soil can leach into underground water or move into the water bodies when it rains. Now, these pollutants which are there on the soil, when the soil gets polluted, and when it rains, it will mix with the water, and it will go down into the underground, and thereby the underground water also gets contaminated, and it can also move into the water bodies when it rains, in the form of small brooklets which join directly to the rivers and ultimately to the seas. So here we see how important it is for us to protect our environment. So, what are the impact, or what are the effects of soil pollution? Loss of soil nutrients, which renders the soil unfit for agriculture. So once the soil gets polluted, it also loses the nutrients, because of which the soil becomes useless for agriculture. Impacts the natural flora and fauna residing in the soil. So the different kinds of small insects and the small plants and bacteria which are there in the soil, they get destroyed because of soil pollution. Degrades vegetation due to the increase of salinity of the soil. Then we see that it also brings down the vegetation if the land becomes gets exposed to salty water. Then toxic dust such as silica dust can cause respiratory problems or even lung cancer. So toxic dust which is mixed in the soil, like the silica dust, when people breathe in such things, that can cause lung cancer to them. Then radioactive waste become particularly hazardous when they are not well contained. Nuclear accidents in Chernobyl, which has left an area of 2,600 square kilometers uninhabitable for several thousand years. So we move on to the next one, that is the radioactive waste. We all know that a few years back, a nuclear power plant met with an accident in Chernobyl, and the entire area was evacuated because of the radiation, because the radiations in that area were very high. Many people also lost their lives, and today we see that entire area, nobody can go in that area of Chernobyl. Nobody can stay over there. They cannot do farming, and an area of almost 2,600 square kilometers is uninhabitable, and that too, it will continue for several thousand years because of the poisonous radioactive material that is over there. Then we move on to noise pollution. Excessive amount of noise in the surroundings that disrupts the natural balance. So we also have something called as noise pollution. When there is excessive noise in the surroundings, it also disrupts or it also destroys the natural balance. Man-made, though certain natural calamities like volcanoes can contribute to noise pollution. Volcanoes and even earthquakes, when they take place, huge amount of sound is created, and huge sound pollution can take place. And at the same time, man-made noise pollution is also there, like bursting of crackers or playing the music very loudly during festival times. So this all contributes to noise pollution. Any sound which is over 85 decibels is considered to be detrimental. Any sound which is around 85 decibels can affect human health or can affect the surroundings, or we can treat it as the noise pollution. Normal conversation is around 60 decibels. When two people are talking, the amount of sound that is created is around 60 decibels. Jet taking off is around 150 decibels. If you are staying close to the airport, you will see when especially when the fighter aircrafts and when the jets are taking off, it creates a huge sound which is equivalent to 150 decibels, which is also very, very harmful for human beings as well as for the animals over there. The duration of an individual is exposed plays an impact on their health. The amount of time a person is facing this particular sound, that also caused an impact on their health. So sound is also something which pollutes the entire environment, and it has got a very bad effect on the health of people. Then industry oriented, who are the main contributors to noise pollution? Industry oriented noises such as heavy machines, mills, factories, etc. Now people who are working in with heavy machines, people who are working in the industries, they are high, they, because of the huge amount of sound and noise that is caused in these industries, they are subject to this noise pollution, which has got a huge impact on their health, which has got huge impact on their mental wellness as well. If you are staying very close to the railway station, or 24 by 7, all these trains, they will be passing, making huge noise, huge sirens. These are also very, very dangerous zones to live in. Transportation noise from vehicles, aeroplanes, etc. Then construction noise, if some kind of construction is going around near your house, that also creates a huge amount of noise pollution. Noise from social events, loudspeakers, firecrackers, etc. Now we see that every corner we have some social events going on. So this also, they put on the loudspeaker, and many a times when you are just passing through that area, you can even feel your heart getting pounded. So the amount of noise, or the amount of sound level is so high, it can even shatter glasses. It can even have impact upon your heart and your entire cardiovascular system. Even firecrackers during festival times not only cause smoke and air pollution, but they also cause uh, uh, huge amount of noise pollution as well. Then playing of the huge drums, the what we call as dhol tasha, when these are also played, the huge amount of noise pollution is created. Then even in the household we see that noise pollution is created, like mixers and grinders when they're used, washing washing machines, and even the sound of TV or the music system, that also causes noise pollution within the house. Noise pollution has now become very common due to dense urbanization and industrialization, because we see that the density of population has increased in the cities because of the industrialization, because of people living very close to each other. The noise pollution has increased because of these particular factors. Now, what are the impacts or what are the effects of noise pollution? Noise pollution leads to hearing loss. The more and more people are introduced to noise pollution, that will impact their hearing. They will lose their hearing. Some kind of deafness will be caused at an early age. Then uh, tinnitus. It is what is tinnitus? It is a kind of disease. It is a feeling of continuous ringing or other noises in the ears. Some people are suffering with tinnitus, which is like some kind of noise is continuously ringing in their ears, because of which they cannot sleep, because of which their mental health is also disturbed very badly. Then sleeping disorders. People do not get proper sleep because of the noise pollution, and because people do not get proper rest, their mental well-being is destroyed, and which leads to irritation, which leads to strain, which leads to different kind of anxieties and mental disorders. Then we see that hypertension, high blood pressure, people who are always in are subject to sound pollution, they also get hypertension or what we call as blood pressure. And then also communication problems are there. You are not able to communicate, you are not able to talk with others because the noise is so huge. Then we move on to waste, solid, liquid, biomedical, and hazardous, as well as electronic hazardous waste. So, what is waste? We see that waste is nothing but garbage, something which is of no use to human beings is called as waste. So, this amounts in the form of solid, liquid, biomedical, hazardous, as well as electronic waste. The world produces about 13 tons of hazardous waste per second. Hazardous means something which is injurious, something which is poisonous and toxic. So, in the world, every second, 13 tons of hazardous waste is produced. Amount that's produced is based on the scope of different human activities, including industrial, agricultural, and residential. So, this hazardous waste that is created, it depends from place to place. Industrial areas, cities, urban areas, they create more and more kind of hazardous waste. Waste can exist in different forms like gas, liquid, and solid. So this particular waste is in the form of exist in all the three forms, that is solid, liquid, and gas. Hazardous waste is a waste which with properties that make it dangerous or capable of having a harmful effect on human health or the environment. Like take for example, plastic. Plastic is also a kind of waste, though it is not a hazardous waste, but it is destroying the environment. So naturally, it is also a waste. But hazardous waste is something which has got a poisonous characteristics. So it is harmful for the effect of on human health as well as on the environment. Then we have radioactive waste. Now, what is radioactive waste? Kind of hazardous waste is typically classified differently from other kinds of toxic waste. There are poisonous waste, there are hazardous waste, but radioactive waste is something which is very different. It is more poisonous. It is basically coming out from the nuclear substances or from the atomic substances. Radioactive waste is typically made from radioactivity. Especially where do we find radioactive waste more? Where the nuclear power plants are there. So they also generate a huge amount of radioactive waste. Then procedures, it produces a greater health risk due to the measured concentrations of radionuclides contained in a substance. So it creates more and more of health risk for people. This radioactive waste is something which is very, very hazardous or very, very dangerous. Then Then we move on to electronic waste. Electronic waste is also getting generated on a very large scale. Now, what do we understand by electronic waste? Like, take for example, the TV is of no use. Like the TV is has met its lifespan, or the mobile, or what we see, the computers. These are all the electronic waste. All the electronic goods, they have a lifespan. You use it for a certain amount of period of time, and then that particular thing becomes a waste. You have to throw it. So the United Nations defines e-waste as any discarded product with a battery or plug. Any discarded product which you are not using, which has a battery or a plug, is defined as a electronic waste by the United Nations organization. E-waste, electronic waste, e-scrap, and end-of-life electronics are terms often used to describe used electronics that are nearing the end of their useful life and are discarded, donated, or given to a recycler. So there are different words, synonyms that are used for electronic waste. They are called as e-waste, electronic waste, e-scrap, end-of-life electronics. These are the different terms or the different words that are used for electronic waste. Now once like take for example your TV or your computer is not working, what do? Either you discard it, you give it to the person, what we call a person comes and he collects all these goods and he gives you some money. Then it is, or you donate it, or you give it to a recycler. Then, according to the United Nations, in 2021, each person on the planet will produce on average, 7.6 kilograms of e-waste, meaning that a massive 57.4 million tons will be generated worldwide. So by the year 2021, it is estimated that every single person who's living on this earth, he is going to produce an average electronic waste of 7.6 kg, which means a massive amount of 57.4 million tons, which will be generated worldwide. So this is a huge amount of waste that will be generated. Only 17.4% of this electronic waste containing a mixture of harmful substance and precious materials will be recorded as being properly collected, treated, and recycled. So only 17.4% of this electronic waste will be collected, will be recycled, or will be treated in a proper way. But then the remaining amount of electronic waste will be dumped here and there. It will be thrown. It will cause lot of pollution in the atmosphere, in the water, as well as the soil. Only 17.4% of this electronic waste can be treated and recycled. According to Global E-Waste Monitor 2020, the world generated 53.6 metric tons of e-waste in 2019, only 9.3 metric tons, that is 17% of which was recorded, has been collected and recycled. So this is a very huge amount of e-waste that is being generated. And because everyone is using electronic gadgets, everyone is using some kind or the other kind of electronic device, like the mobile. Like every 2 years, 3 years, we discard the mobile and we buy a new one. Computers, laptops, and all these electronic items, they have a lifespan. After that, we throw them, or we do not use them, and because of which it creates a huge amount of waste. So today, what we have basically gone through uh, is the different kinds of एन्व्हायरमेंटल इश्यूज. आपण बघितलेलं आहे की कशा प्रकारे एन्व्हायरमेंटल इश्यूजला आपल्याला येणाऱ्या दिवसांमध्ये सामोरं जावं लागणार आहे. हाऊ विल हॅव टू फेस दिस एन्व्हायरमेंटल इश्यूज इन द कमिंग इयर्स. आपल्याला पाहायला मिळतं की लोकल एन्व्हायरमेंटल इश्यूज तयार होतात, रिजनल आणि जागतिक एन्व्हायरमेंटल इश्यूज त्या ठिकाणी तयार होतात. मग आपण बघितलं आहे की पोल्युशन म्हणजे काय. पोल्युशन ज्यावेळेस केमिकल्स किंवा हाय कॉन्सन्ट्रेशन्स मध्ये हार्मफुल सबस्टन्सेस एन्व्हायरमेंट मध्ये रिलीज केले जातात, त्याला आपण पोल्युशन त्या ठिकाणी म्हणतो. पोल्युशन आपल्याला पाहायला मिळते की पुष्कळशा प्रकारचं पोल्युशन. आपल्याला वाटतं की फक्त केमिकल्सच हे पोल्युशन करतात, परंतु आवाजाचं पण पोल्युशन आहे. त्या ठिकाणी आवाजाचं पण पोल्युशन आहे, ई वेस्टचं पण पोल्युशन आहे, रेडिओ ऍक्टिव्ह मटेरियल्सचं पण त्या ठिकाणी पोल्युशन आपल्याला पाहायला मिळतं. वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारचे जे पोल्युशन आहेत ते असे आहेत की एअर पोल्युशन, हवेमधलं प्रदूषण, पाण्यातलं प्रदूषण, जमीन जी आहे ती प्रदूषित होते, आणि आवाजाचं प्रदूषण. हे वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारचे पोल्युशन किंवा प्रदूषण आपण बघितलेले आहेत. आणि आपल्याला पाहायला मिळतं की पोल्युशन किंवा प्रदूषण हे कशामुळे तयार होतं, की ज्यावेळेस जंगलांना त्या ठिकाणी आग लागते त्यावेळेस पुष्कळशे पॉइझनस गॅसेस त्या ठिकाणी एमिट होतात, किंवा आपण मनुष्य प्राणी देखील त्या ठिकाणी कार वापरतो, किंवा फॅक्टरीद्वारे किंवा न्यूक्लिअर वेस्टद्वारे देखील आपण त्या ठिकाणी वेगवेगळ्या काइंड्स ऑफ पोल्युशन किंवा आपण त्या ठिकाणी पोल्युशन करत राहतो. एअर पोल्युशन आपण बघतो की एअर पोल्युशन म्हणजे काय, की ज्यावेळेस हवेमध्ये त्या ठिकाणी पॉइझनस किंवा विषारी वायू आहेत, तर त्याला एअर पोल्युशन असं म्हटलं जातं. आणि त्या कोणकोणते वेगवेगळे प्रकारचे गॅसेस आहेत की ज्याच्यामुळं हवा त्या ठिकाणी प्रदूषित होते, तर ते आहेत सल्फर डायऑक्साईड, कार्बन डायऑक्साईड, कार्बन मोनॉक्साईड, नायट्रस ऑक्साईड, नायट्रोजन डायऑक्साईड, and also suspended particles. And हवेचं प्रदूषण होण्याचे काय कारण आहेत, की ज्यावेळेस फॉसिल फ्युएलला आपण काय म्हणतो, पेट्रोलियम, डिझेल किंवा कोळसा ज्यावेळेस आपण जाळतो त्याला फॉसिल फ्युएल्स म्हणतात. ज्यावेळेस आपण ते जाळतो त्यावेळेस वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारचे पॉइझनस गॅसेस त्या ठिकाणी निर्माण होतात, आणि ज्याच्यामुळे एअर पोल्युशन, हवेचं प्रदूषण त्या ठिकाणी होतं. आणि घराघरामध्ये आपण बघतो की त्या ठिकाणी लाकूड जाळतात चुलीमध्ये, किंवा शेणाच्या गौऱ्या त्या ठिकाणी वापरतात घरामध्ये जाळण्यासाठी, आणि घरामधून देखील मोठ्या प्रमाणात हवेचं प्रदूषण होतं. फॅक्टरीज आणि वाहनांद्वारे आणि पॉवर प्लांटद्वारे पण खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणात त्या ठिकाणी प्रदूषण होतं. मग मायनिंग ऑपरेशन, ज्या ठिकाणी उत्खनन करतात किंवा ज्या ठिकाणी वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारचे मायनिंग ऑपरेशन्स चालतात, त्या ठिकाणी पण पुष्कळसं हवेचं प्रदूषण निर्माण होतं. एक्झॉस्ट गॅसेस फ्रॉम इंडस्ट्रीज अँड फॅक्टरीज, मोठमोठ्या कंपन्यांचं त्या ठिकाणी चिमणीद्वारे जो धूर फेकला जातो, पॉइझनस धूर फेकला जातो, त्याच्यामुळे देखील एअर पोल्युशन त्या ठिकाणी होतं. मग एअर पोल्युशन किंवा हवेच्या प्रदूषणामुळं कोणत्या प्रकारचे किंवा ते कशा प्रकारे हानिकारक आहे. हवेच्या प्रदूषणामुळं आपण जी हवा श्वासोश्वासामध्ये घेतो, त्याच्यामुळं पुष्कळसे फुफ्फुसाचे आजार त्या ठिकाणी निर्माण होतात. हार्टचे आजार त्या ठिकाणी तयार होतात. मग नंतर एवढंच नाही, परंतु स्किनची पण ॲलर्जी किंवा स्किनचे पण आजार त्या ठिकाणी होतात. पुष्कळ जणांना कॅन्सर देखील होतो. एवढंच नाही तरी ग्लोबल वॉर्मिंग पण त्या ठिकाणी एअर पोल्युशनमुळे होते. ॲसिड रेन म्हणजे आपल्याला पाहायला मिळतं, की जेव्हा हवाच प्रदूषित आहे, त्या हवेमध्ये पुष्कळसे पॉइझनस गॅसेस आहेत आणि ज्यावेळेस पावसाळ्याच्या दिवसामध्ये पाऊस पडतो, तर त्यावेळेस हे सर्व केमिकल्स पाण्यामध्ये मिक्स होऊन पावसामध्ये मिक्स होतात आणि पाऊस त्या ठिकाणी पृथ्वीवर कोसळतो. तर त्याला ॲसिड रेन असं म्हणतात. ओझोन डिप्लिशन पण आपण बघितलेलं आहे, की कशाप्रकारे ओझोन लेयर जो आहे पृथ्वीच्या अवतीभोवती, त्याला देखील मोठं छिद्र किंवा भगदाड त्या ठिकाणी पडलं जातं आणि ज्याच्यातून सूर्याचे अल्ट्राव्हायोलेट पॉइझनस किंवा हार्मफुल जे रेज आहेत, ते पृथ्वीवर येतात, ज्याच्यामुळे कॅन्सर वगैरे होऊ शकतो आणि हॅझार्ड्स टू वाईल्ड लाईफ. आणि ज्यावेळेस हवेचं प्रदूषण त्या ठिकाणी होतं, त्या ठिकाणी जनावरांना देखील किंवा वाईल्ड लाईफला देखील त्याचे परिणाम त्या ठिकाणी भोगावे लागतात. मग नंतर आपण बघितलेलं आहे, की वॉटर पोल्युशन म्हणजे काय? की पाणी ज्यावेळेस पाण्यामध्ये कोणतेतरी पॉइझनस गोष्टी किंवा पॉइझनस एलिमेंट्स, केमिकल्स गेल्यामुळं त्या ठिकाणी पाणी पण त्या ठिकाणी प्रदूषित होतं. तर वॉटर बॉडीज म्हणजे कोणत्या आहेत? की जसे तळे आहेत, नद्या आहेत, समुद्र आहेत किंवा जमिनीखालची जे पाणी आहे, त्याच्यामध्ये पण पोल्युशन होऊ शकतं. आणि कशामुळे हे पोल्युशन होत आहे, प्रदूषण होत आहे, तर आपल्या सगळ्या घरांच्या ज्या गटारी आहेत, त्या सगळं सगळं पाणी जमिनीमध्ये मुरलं जातं किंवा मुरलं गेलं नाही तर ते त्या ठिकाणी अ, 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 नद्यांना जोडलं जातं आणि मग नंतर किंवा समुद्रामध्ये हे सगळे इंडस्ट्रियल वेस्ट, पेस्टिसाइड्स आणि फर्टिलायझर त्या ठिकाणी सोडले जातात, ज्याच्यामुळं पाणी पण प्रदूषित होतं. आणि जे प्रदूषित पाणी जे आहे त्याचा काही उपयोग नाही. ते आपण पिऊ शकत नाही. त्याच्याने आपण अ, अ, धुणं पण धुवू शकत नाही, भांडे घासू शकत नाही किंवा अंघोळ देखील आपण त्याच्याद्वारे करू शकत नाही किंवा ह्या पाण्याचा उपयोग ॲग्रीकल्चरला किंवा शेतीसाठी पण आपण त्या ठिकाणी करू शकत नाही. देन मग आपण बघितलेलं आहे की वॉटर पोल्युशनचं काय परिणाम त्या ठिकाणी होतो. पाण्याच्या प्रदूषणामुळे संपूर्ण इकोसिस्टम आहे ते डिस्ट्रॉय होतं. अ, मासे वगैरे जे समुद्रामध्ये आहेत ते सुद्धा मरतात. इन्क्रीज रिस्क ऑफ वॉटरबोर्न डिसीजेस, पाण्याद्वारे पसरणारे आजार त्या ठिकाणी वाढतात. मग नंतर आपण बघितलेलं आहे की जपानमध्ये अ, त्या ठिकाणी मेथिल मर्क्युरी हा जो केमिकल आहे तो पाण्यामध्ये सोडला गेलेला होता नद्यांमध्ये, आणि ज्याच्यामुळं माशांमध्ये तो अर्क या पॉइझनस एलिमेंटचा उतरलेला आहे आणि ज्यावेळेस लोकांनी ते मासे खाल्ले, त्यावेळेस त्यांच्या अंगामध्ये देखील किंवा त्यांच्या शरीरामध्ये देखील हा पॉइझनस सबस्टन्स गेलेला आहे, ज्याच्यामुळं त्यांच्या मेंटल हेल्थवर परिणाम त्या ठिकाणी झालेला आहे. मग नंतर आपण दुसरं पोल्युशन बघतो ते म्हणजे पृथ्वीचं पोल्युशन किंवा सॉइल पोल्युशन. सॉइल पोल्युशन कशामुळे होत आहे? की ज्यावेळेस पुष्कळसे अ, अ, खत किंवा त्या ठिकाणी कीटकनाशक ज्यावेळेस शेतकरी वापरतात, त्याच्यामुळं त्याचा परिणाम त्या जमिनीवर होतो आणि ज्याच्यामुळं काही वर्षानंतर त्या जमिनीमध्ये कोणतंच उपज येत नाही. दुसरी गोष्ट आम्हाला पाहायला मिळते, की इंडस्ट्रियल वेस्ट पण ज्यावेळेस या जमिनीवर सोडलं जातं, त्या प्रकार ती जमीन त्या ठिकाणी उपजाऊ राहत नाही. मग ॲसिड रेनमुळं पण पोल्युशन होतं. मायनिंग ॲक्टिव्हिटीजमुळं पण होतं आणि इंडस्ट्रियल ॲक्सिडेंट्समुळं पण त्या ठिकाणी असे दुष्परिणाम आपल्याला पाहायला मिळतात. मग आणखीन एक प्रकारचं पोल्युशन आहे ते म्हणजे ध्वनी प्रदूषण, नॉईज पोल्युशन. आणि ज्याच्यामुळं नॅचरल बॅलन्स जो आहे तो तो बिघडला जातो. पुष्कळसे मॅन मेड जे पोल्युशन आहे, नॉईज पोल्युशन जे आहे, ते कशाद्वारे त्या ठिकाणी होत असतात. ज्यावेळेस आपण मोठ्या प्रमाणात आवाजाच्या संपर्कामध्ये जातो. ज्यावेळेस एखादं फायटर जेट त्या ठिकाणी टेक ऑफ करतं, त्या ठिकाणी असा प्रचंड आवाज त्या ठिकाणी येतो. जे लोक त्या ठिकाणी रेल्वे स्टेशनच्या जवळ राहतात, एअरपोर्टच्या जवळ राहतात किंवा एकदम मध्यवर्ती एरियामध्ये राहतात, त्यांना सारखं त्या ध्वनी प्रदूषणाला त्या ठिकाणी सामोरं जावं लागतं. आणि ह्याचे इम्पॅक्ट पण त्या ठिकाणी पुष्कळ मोठे त्या ठिकाणी असतात. इंडस्ट्रीज मधून सुद्धा किंवा हेवी मशीनचा पण त्या ठिकाणी मोठा आवाज येतो. ज्या ठिकाणी कन्स्ट्रक्शन चालू आहे त्या ठिकाणी पण ध्वनी प्रदूषण होतं. मग मोठमोठ्याने लाऊडस्पीकर लावणं सणाच्या वेळेला किंवा त्या ठिकाणी फटाके वाजवणं, त्याच्यामुळं देखील पुष्कळ प्रमाणामध्ये ध्वनी प्रदूषण त्या ठिकाणी होतं. मग ह्याचे परिणाम काय होतात? नॉईज पोल्युशन, व्हॉट आर द इफेक्ट्स ऑफ नॉईज पोल्युशन? बहिरेपण लोकांमध्ये जाणवतं त्याच्यामुळं. टिटेनस हा टाईपचा एक आजार आहे की ज्याच्यामध्ये कंटिन्यू असं कानामध्ये काहीतरी वेगळ्या प्रकारचे आवाज येतात. झोपण्यामध्ये पण लोकांना व्यवस्थित झोप येत नाही आणि ज्याच्यामुळं त्यांचं बीपी किंवा हायपरटेन्शन वाढतं आणि एकमेकांसंगती संवाद साधता येत नाही. मग नंतर आपण बघितलेलं आहे की हॅझर्डस वेस्ट म्हणजे काय? की जे पॉइझनस वेस्ट सॉलिड लिक्विड आणि सॉलिड लिक्विड फॉर्म मध्ये त्या ठिकाणी पृथ्वीवर सोडले जातात, त्याला आपण हॅझार्डस असं वेस्ट म्हणतो. तर जगामध्ये 13 टन हॅझार्डस वेस्ट जे आहे ते प्रत्येक क्षणाला प्रत्येक सेकंदाला त्या ठिकाणी तयार होत आहे. आणि त्याच्यामुळं आपला जो परिसर जो आहे त्याच्यावर मोठा असा परिणाम त्या ठिकाणी होतो. मग आपण बघितलेलं आहे की रेडिओ ऍक्टिव्ह वेस्ट म्हणजे काय? रेडिओ ऍक्टिव्ह मटेरियल किंवा जे वेस्ट आहे ते पण त्याच्याद्वारे पण मोठ्या प्रमाणात विषारी वायू तयार होतात किंवा पॉइझन्स तयार होतात आणि ज्याच्यामुळं लोकांच्या शरीरावर किंवा हेल्थवर मोठा असा परिणाम दिसून येतो. त्यानंतर आणखीन एक प्रकारचं वेस्ट आपण बघितलेलं आहे ते म्हणजे इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वेस्ट. जसं की आपल्या प्रत्येक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वस्तूला त्या ठिकाणी एक काल मर्यादा आहे किंवा त्याचं एक लाईफ सायकल आहे आणि ते संपल्यानंतर आपल्याला ते फेकून द्यावं लागतं किंवा आपण भंगारमध्ये विकतो किंवा त्या ठिकाणी रिसायकलरला त्या ठिकाणी देतो. तर ही ई वेस्ट पण त्या ठिकाणी मोठ्या प्रमाणात त्या ठिकाणी तयार होत आहे. असा अंदाज घेतलेला आहे युनायटेड नेशन्सनी की 2021 सालापर्यंत प्रत्येक व्यक्ती जवळजवळ 7.6 किलोग्रॅम ऑफ ई वेस्ट तयार करणार आहे. आणि त्याचा अर्थ काय होतो की 57.4 मिलियन टन्स ऑफ ई वेस्ट विल बी इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वेस्ट विल बी जनरेटेड ऑल ओव्हर द वर्ल्ड. आणि ह्याच्यातून फक्त 17.4% जे आहे वेस्ट ते त्याचं त्या ठिकाणी रिसायकल होतं. बाकीचं त्या ठिकाणी तसंच पडून राहतं. त्याच्यावर पाऊस पडला की त्याच्यातले पॉइझनस एलिमेंट्स पाण्यामध्ये मिक्स होऊन त्या ठिकाणी फर्दर पोल्युशन तयार करतात. सो दिस इज ऑल दॅट वी हॅव डन टुडे. We have completed the third chapter for our unit 9, which basically is about pollution and which is about the local environmental, regional, and global environmental issues. If you like this video or if you find it interesting, you can share it, you can like it, or you can even subscribe our channel. Thank you so much. Have a good day.